Hello, welcome and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about the best books I read last year. I don't have many rules, just what I liked out of all the books I read last year. That's it. Just one book per author, that's all. So the first book at number 10, obviously I'm going from number 10 to number 1. So at number 10 I have City of States by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is book 1 in his Divine Cities trilogy. I read entire trilogy as part of Alan's read along. I liked both City of States and City of Blades. I liked the last book as well, but little less than first two books. I think the themes of City of Blades, which is book 2, hit me deeper and I think about it more. But I included the book 1 here because that's what introduced me to this world. That's what made me appreciate and fall in love with this world. I liked the uniqueness of it and I liked all characters. I loved the main character Shara. She is intelligent and resourceful, and I loved the mystery behind the mythology of this world. I highly recommend the whole trilogy. But if you want to stop, you can even stop after reading first book. You get the complete story. You won't get the entire aspect of the mythology. You won't understand the entire world. You won't understand everything about the gods in the first book itself, but you'll definitely get the complete story without any cliffhanger. And at number 9, I have The Liberation by Ian Tregillis, which is book 3 of the Alchemy Wars trilogy. This is definitely one of my favorite final books in a trilogy. Ian Tregillis nailed the ending. I like the first two books as well, but this final book elevated the entire trilogy for me and set this up as a contender for one of my favorite trilogies. This series set in an alternate universe where Dutch conquered the world, not England. They almost conquered the world except French. French king ran away, moved to Canada, Quebec, and ruling from there, actually resisting from there. Dutch conquered the world by using mechanical men, same concept as robots. They have superhuman strength and they are sentient. We get different perspectives, like Clacker perspective and French spice perspective, different POVs which give us multiple angles into this whole intrigue. And this final book, Tregillis introduced a POV of an antagonist which completely changed the game for me. I hated this Dutch Empire, I hated this particular character, but I loved the POV. I looked forward to get to that POV. I loved what we got to see through that POV. Tregillis did a fantastic job of exploring oppressed versus oppressor trope. Definitely recommend, actually. People always complain that fantasy books are long, in terms of number of books in a series, also in terms of length of a book. This is only a trilogy and almost all 3 books are like around 450 pages. So definitely give it a try. And at number 8, first time I have a romance in my top 10. I usually read romance as palate cleanser, just 1 or 2 in a year. And they don't make my favorite lists. I usually get bored. I want world building. Usually I read only contemporary romance. I haven't tried romantasy yet. In contemporary romance we don't get any world building, only it's about characters and the relationship between them. So sometimes I get bored. I need that world building. But I read Emily Henry. I read 2 books by her and both of them are 5 stars. I did read Beach Read a couple of years back and it was alright. It wasn't my favorite. But this year I read Funny Story and Book Lovers and I loved them both, actually. I am including Book Lovers for this list because I connected to that book more. I loved Nora, her love for her mother, her closeness with her sister. I connected to that a lot. I like Charlie as well. If I have to say something negative about this book, it is first person POV, so we don't get much depth of Charlie's perspective. That's my only complaint. I prefer my romances to be in third person POV. I want both the perspectives. We only got Nora's perspective. We got so much depth of her character, which I loved, which is enough for me to like the book. So that's why this is in my favorites list. And at number 7, I have The Guns Above by Robin Venice. This is probably my most surprising book of the year, because I went into this without knowing anything. I know this is about airships and the main character is going to be airship captain. That's it. I went into this like without expecting anything, but it completely surprised me. I mean, our main character is a first female captain, and she knows everything about obviously airships, from how to make her airship turn faster, or how to maneuver it in the middle of battle. So obviously we are going to like that character. She's very intelligent. We're bound to like that character. But what surprised me was the second character, second main character, which is Berna, who is a nobleman. Obviously, not everyone likes the change. Not everyone likes women going up in their career. So the general, he doesn't like her going up in her career. So he sends his nephew to spy on her and report back. That's how this guy Ubarna comes on the ship. I was expecting an arrogant nobleman. He is an arrogant nobleman, but are not in a bad sense. He is vain, so he's more worried about what he's wearing rather than the work. The way Venice wrote him was hilarious. So I end up loving him as much as I love Josette, and banter between them is my favorite thing in the book. Though it has battle scenes, good scenes actually, where strategy is involved, which is usually my favorite thing, I end up loving the banter between Josette and Bernard the most. I love the dialogue. And I love the genuine friendship that was developed between these two characters. Easily one of my favorite books of the year. And at number 6, I have Shroud by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is Adrian Tchaikovsky's standalone, sci-fi standalone, which came out in 2025. And it was fantastic. Tchaikovsky is brilliant in world building. That is his biggest strength. And he used that very well in this book. This is set in a planet called Shroud. Everything is dark. The only thing there was electromagnetic noise on that planet. That's why it is called Shroud. So two people crashed onto this planet in a pod actually. Outside atmosphere they can't survive. They are inside a pod. So they crashed onto this planet, and they struggled to signal to their ship because of all this electromagnetic noise. Through their journey we are introduced the creatures on this planet. We get to learn, we get to see everything on this planet. It was brilliantly done. It was very atmospheric. We get the sense of the terror these characters are feeling. And as usual, Tchaikovsky was very intentional about his themes, very subtle in the beginning, but they end up becoming the central of the plot by the end. I loved everything about this book. Actually, this is one of the best examples why Tchaikovsky is one of my favorite authors. And at number 5, I have Guards by Terry Pratchett. I finally started my Discworld journey. I read 3 books by him last year: Guards, Men at Arms, and Going Postal. Compared to Men at Arms, I like Guards and Going Postal. I loved Going Postal as well. Plot, it was hilarious. But I decided to go with Guards because of several reasons. Not just because it was my first introduction to Pratchett's writing. Obviously, we have a special bond with the first book we read of an author, mainly because it has Carrot and Vimes. I adore Carrot and I love Vimes, and also because it has Brother Watchtower. I loved Brother Watchtower scenes. All those brotherhood scenes are ridiculous and I found them hilarious, and that's the reason I'm including Guards in this list, and I'm looking forward to dwell deeper into the series. Probably next year, because Alan said he's going to reread City Wars, so we are going to read together. And at number 4, I have Windhaven by Lisa Tuttle and George R.R. Martin. This is a brilliant insight into caste-based conflict. I'm actually surprised by the restraint both Lisa Tuttle and George R.R. Martin showed in writing this book. I am new to both the authors, so I'm not sure if this is their usual style or they only did it for this book. Because when you're dealing with something like this story, it is easy to get into like preachy or like provide some kind of solution, but they did not do that. They just showed us how society fights against the change and how people try to fight to make their own space for their own dreams, and how people cope with it, both new and old. I don't want to talk more than this. It is very short and you understand it more if you go into that without knowing anything. I do have a review of it if you want more details. I'm not going to talk more about it here, but definitely give it a try. It's a brilliant exploration of themes like identity and casteism. And at number 3, I have Tales from Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. This is a collection of 4 stories and a novella set in her Earthsea series. I got a gap between reading Tehanu, which is fourth book in the series, and this one. So it felt so good getting back to this series and to the beginning of the world, because the first story in this collection is set around like 200 years before the beginning of book 1. Le Guin was very intentional about these stories. She started at the like 200 years before the beginning of book 1. Like she gave us the history through couple of stories, and then couple of stories are like set in like in between books 1 to 4, and then the final novella sets up the final book of the series. I like the structure of that, and the stories also gave us more information about the world, also shows the progression of how this world changed, how respect for these wizards changed along the time. I also loved how Le Guin focused on common people and village witches in this world filled with dragons and wizards. I think first story is my favorite out of all of them. It is very dark and difficult to get through, but it is also very important to understand this world. And at number 2, I have The Curse of Chalion by Louise McMaster Bujold. It's very surprising that even after an year, my love for this book did not go down. I read this book in last February. It's almost an year. When I'm listing my favorites down, when I'm trying to place this one, I'm surprised to see actually at how high I place this. We mainly follow a war veteran called Kazaril who comes back to the place he grew up as a child. So he gets appointed as a mentor to the next generation heiress of that palace. From there, we got thrown into the court intrigue along with these characters and fantastic secondary characters. I loved following Kazaril and Isel. That's the princess name. I loved how Bujold wrote her character. Some people think strong female character means it has to be a warrior character. They shouldn't have any female characteristics, that they shouldn't be feminine. But you can be feminine and strong. They're not mutually exclusive. Isel represents exactly that. I love that. There is a mystery behind the gods as well, but everything wasn't revealed in this book. It was mostly focused on the court politics. I think next book, Paladin of Souls, is going to explore more of the gods and the mystery behind it. So I'm looking forward to read that this year. This one works as a standalone. You can stop after reading this one. And at number 1, the best book I read last year in 2025 is Purple and Black by KJ Parker. This is not a full-length novel. This is just a novella about 120 pages, but this is the best I liked, so I decided to go with it. If you have been following Alan, you must have already heard him talking about KJ Parker. So if you're curious to try KJ Parker, this is definitely a great place to start, because it showcases Parker's style very well, his usual themes, how he writes a story. He throws us into the world. There won't be world building or anything, and this entire novella is in epistolary format. It's just letters between two friends, and through these letters, Parker explores the themes of power, idealism, and loyalty. That's all I am going to talk about it. Anything more than that, it will ruin the reading experience. When I finished reading this, I just sat down and stared at the world blankly. That's it. It was just brilliantly done. I mean, there are many books which explore these themes, but it was very, very well done. I am definitely going to reread this novella this year. Again, this book I think I read in February, almost an year, and I still think about it. So if you're going to take one recommendation from this entire list, please read Purple and Black, only 120 pages. Also, if the book is not available, it is part of his collection Academic Exercises. This ebook is available if you are in US. Though I did not read many books, I think I read around 45 books last year. I read some amazing books. I am very, very happy with what I read, and I'm looking forward to 2026. Let me know what was your favorite book in the comments, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.